Hello, everyone. Welcome to Mystery Mondays on Tuesday. This is a continuation of the one that I started yesterday. That's why I am doing this one today, because I wanted to go ahead and finish the Lena Chapin story before, it, while it was still fresh in people's minds, I guess is a good way to put it. But there was something else I was going to add to that, but I don't recall what it would have been. But so, as I stated yesterday, I am going to, I'm reading this article, which is from let me make sure that I get it right here. It's from PhelpsCountyFocus.com, and it is a article that was printed originally in 2016. It was updated in, I believe, August of 2020, though I don't know what updates exactly were made to it. There's no mention that I know of the Unsolved Mysteries episode, Missing Witness, which is about this case. But that being said, what I am doing is reading this article to you guys in its entirety, because I don't want to leave out any of the information or get the information incorrect. And as I stated in my Mystery Mondays number 20, which is the other half of this, well, not necessarily, I hope not half, because it's that one is an hour and 17 minutes long, and I'm hoping this one won't be that long. But anyway, I am going to redo the part about the confession, Lena's confession to her uncle Albert McCullough, because I feel like that part is really, really important. And I won't be looking at the screen the majority of the time, so I probably won't be able to see if anyone is commenting or liking or anything like that, but I will check from time to time. And I apologize again if my internet is glitchy, because last time it was pretty glitchy. But anyway, to continue on, I'm going to redo the part about the confession, and I wish that I could figure out how to edit pictures into my videos, and I would do that. I need to work on figuring out how to do that. So the confession: on a summer night in June 2003, which is 4 years, 4 years and a month approximately after Gary McCullough had gone missing, Gary McCullough's brother Albert says Lena Chapin arrived at his home outside of Carr Lane, just south of Table Rock Lake, which is in Missouri. He had not seen Lena since she was a preteen, but now 17, Lena was grown and under incredible stress. And this is Albert speaking now with the Salem News. He says, quote, she was shaking, she was shaking. She was so nervous. The whole time she was talking to me, she was on the couch and couldn't sit straight the whole time. I've never heard that called sitting straight. I always called it sitting still. Anyway, end quote, sorry. Albert was Chapin's stepfather from 1992 to 1996, before his wife Sandy left him for his brother Gary. And I found that interesting because one of her sisters, I believe, was born in 1993, and Albert McCullough is not that sister's father, so I don't know. Perhaps perhaps Sandy was already pregnant with that child before her and Albert got married. I don't know for sure. But Albert goes on to say, I loved those girls like they were my own. Growing up, Lena was always loyal to Sandy, and Sandy rewarded her for that. She'd always be the one chosen to go to the store and things like that. Lena was also always the one who kept her secrets for her. When I asked those girls if it were true that Sandy and my brother were fooling around together, it was Lena that was doing all the talking, trying to make up excuses for her. Yet in an article that I was reading earlier, he said that it was her kids that did tell him that she was cheating on him with her brother. So I guess that she was making excuses and at the same time admitting that she was cheating with him. Anyway, that night, Chapin told Albert she knew the truth of what happened to his brother 4 years previous. I forgot to close my bathroom door. Anyway, on May 11, 1999, when Lena was 13. Knowing the significance of the conversation, Albert recorded it without Lena's knowledge, and today a copy still exists at the Berry County Sheriff's Office, according to Sheriff Nick Apperly. Now, I have the opinion that if he had asked her if it was okay for him to record the conversation, she probably would have said yes. That's just my personal opinion. He goes on to say, quote, I asked her straight out, Lena, I want to know who killed my brother. Her answer was one word, Mom. End quote, sorry. An official transcript of the tape obtained from the Berry County Sheriff's Office by the Salem News confirms Albert's claim. And here's part of the conversation. Albert, well, who killed Gary? Lena, Mom. On tape, Chapin claims she and her sisters arrived home from school May 11, 1999, to find their mother waiting for them at the bus stop, which is one of the consistencies in some of the stories here. Lena says Sandy sent her sisters to do chores at the family's barn and brought her inside where Gary's body was sprawled out on a bedroom floor. And there are more inconsistencies in both of those statements. So this is Lena talking now on the recording. Quote, she, Sandy, was crying, and all she wanted to say was, I can't believe this happened. I can't believe this happened. And that's all she'd say the whole time when she was freaking out and telling me. She was bawling and saying, I can't believe this happened, which still to me makes it seem as though she was not the one that shot him. But anyway, Lena goes on to say, and I ask her, I'm like, I want to see. I didn't believe it. You know, when you think to yourself, okay, there's a dead person in your house, you know, you're not thinking, okay, come on now, whatever. It's just like, I want to see, which I still disagree with. I'd be like, I'm getting out of here before I'm next, you know. She wouldn't let me see. She had her door locked. I said, I want to see. I want to see it right now. I know if I'd have seen the whole thing, I'd have flipped out. I would have flipped out. But there was a crack in the door, and I looked and I saw it, and I completely went crazy. I started spazzing out on her, and I went, what the hell happened? What happened? You know, end quote. And that's where there are some more inconsistencies because some of the other, here she's talking about she's in the living room and he's in the bedroom, and she looks through the crack at the bottom of the door, I'm guessing is where she's talking about, and or the side of the door possibly, and she sees him in the bedroom. Other stories, she says that she was in her bedroom, sitting in front of the door to keep her sisters from getting out of from leaving the room, and she looks through a crack in the door and sees him in the living room. And I know a lot of time passed between various stories, so it's hard to know for sure, you know, um, what she was remembering accurately and what she wasn't. Lena told Albert she believed Sandy shot Gary while she sat on their living room couch eating a plate of scrambled eggs. Lena went on to say she then helped her mother methodically clean up the murder scene over the course of 2 days while her sisters went to school. Chapin said they pulled up carpets, bleached the floors, and that Gary's body was burned on top of a brush pile. And something that I was reading a while ago said that she said that his body was burned on a brush pile overnight or like all night long or something along that line. And still, even though, like whenever my gramps would have cows that would die, you pile tires on there to keep, because that's going to make the cows' remains burn longer, and there are still large bones and certain parts of them that do not burn. But there's a lot of speculation as to what might have happened to parts that did not burn. School records obtained by law enforcement indicate Chapin was not in school on May 12 and left school early on May 13, Everly confirms. And so the 13th was the day that the sheriff's office went to their house, and Sandy pulled up. She was not home when they arrived, and she pulled up and had Lena with her. And as I stated in the last one, of course, she could have had a doctor's appointment, or you know, there could have been a lot of reasons why she left school early that day and missed the day before. And so Lena also says to Albert, if you want something of Gary's to stick in the ground, there is nothing left. He was burned, completely burned, and everything. Everything that was, left at the burn pile was put in buckets and spread all over. So I don't remember where they're at. I was there. I am the only one that knows. I am the only one that knows exactly what happened, but there is nothing left. There is nothing left. And this part confused me the first, I mean, like when I read it, I'm like, she says she was there. She's the only one that knows, which makes it sound like her mom and Chris were not even there when this happened. Because if they were there, then they would also know, would they not? I know she was under a lot of stress and probably was just not wording stuff the way that she really should have been wording it. And she goes on to say, I burned my fingers. I burned a few of my fingers picking up ashes and bones. During the conversation, end quote, sorry. During the conversation, Lena explained why she participated. Quote, the whole thing could make me sound like a bad person, but what was I supposed to do? I would have never done it, but then I was thinking, I got these sisters, and if I'm going to get caught, I better help mom with it. Now, I wouldn't want anything bad to happen to my mom because she's got those kids and she takes very good care of them. But I do have a little bit against her because she doesn't. I don't have a mom anymore, end quote. And she's talking about like her mom, I guess, became emotionally dead. She most likely was in shock. And in my opinion, if she was in shock, it was either an accident or her mom was not the one who actually shot him. Um, my opinion is personally that Chris was the one that shot him. If in fact he even did get shot, there was something in here that I was going to comment on. What she said. Oh yes, she says I would have never done it, but then I was thinking, I got these sisters, and if I'm going to get caught, I don't understand that part. If I'm going to get caught, I better help mom with it. Um, why would you be helping if you think you're going to get caught? You know what I'm saying? That part to me does not make any sense the way that it's worded. But anyway, it says Lena also said the cover up had been trauma. I'm sorry. Lena also said the trauma had a. Oh, I'm so sorry. I am so tired, people. I've only had about maybe an hour and a half of sleep. So anyway, Lena also said the cover up had a traumatizing effect on her, which anything like that would if you did actually participate in something along that line, of course. I know what I'm figure out here. Oh, never mind. Um, so Lena also goes on to say, quote, at nighttime it cost me sleep. I just wasn't myself after that. I had trouble eating. I had trouble going to my room to sleep. They didn't know why. I sat there thinking to myself, God, if only they knew, end quote. And of course, she's talking about her sisters, whom she apparently shared a bedroom with Olive. Later, Lena said, quote, I think I'm already going crazy. And she also said, quote, I think I've already gone crazy over this. It's just drove me insane, end quote. She told Albert she was confessing because his family had treated her and her sisters well, and she knew they were suffering from not knowing what had happened to Gary. After recording the confession, I'm sorry. After recording the confession, Albert contacted the Berry County Sheriff's Office and turned the evidence over to them. Sheriff Epperly said, quote, it looked like we had something really concrete and solid to work on. Lena told Albert a lot of things that I believe to be the truth, end quote. Epperly says when the sheriff's office contacted Chapin and asked her to elaborate on her confession, a lawyer hired by her mother intervened and convinced Lena to exercise her right to remain silent. He also goes on to say, quote, she lawyered up, although we have a copy of her confession to Albert, we never got to speak with her. The family's lawyer would not allow it, but there is no record of her recanting her confession that I am aware of, end quote. So this is going to start the part that I did not go over yesterday, and I'm already at about 15 minutes. Sorry about this. I've got to get me a drink. My mouth is getting dry. Sorry, guys. So And this is the part that I did not read last night. It starts with "Gone Without a Trace," and I believe there are 6 more sections, so this is probably going to be at least an hour long. Um, on June 26, 2006, April Chandler and Joy McCullough, Gary's daughters from a previous marriage, filed a wrongful death lawsuit in Berry County Civil Court against both Sandy and Chris Klemp, who were living in Dent County. And now this is the part that I was talking about in the description that is more about Gary. The suit alleged the duo knowingly took the life of their father, of April and Joy McCullough's father. The McCullough daughters' litigation was predicated in part on Chapin's taped confession to Albert. Lena was initially listed in the suit as a co-conspirator in the crime, as well as Chris Klemp's first wife, Jennifer. She was also listed as a co-conspirator, but I don't know whether or not she continued to be named in this hearing or not, because I couldn't find anything that actually said that. So, the plaintiff's lawyer, Richard Lee Anderson, whom I believe was a friend of Gary, yes, he was a friend of Gary McCullough's, he told the Salem News, quote, "We were very interested in contacting Lena because she had confessed to taking an active role in the cover-up of Gary's murder. The statements of a co-conspirator can be used against other conspirators in that crime. We hoped if we could confront Lena with her own words under oath, we could finally get what happened to Gary on the record," end quote. And so this was in June of 2006 is when this says that they filed the wrongful death lawsuit. It was my understanding that that was actually filed in November of 2005, but went to court in 2006. On July 7, 2006, Dent County Sheriff's deputies served Sandy and Chris with court papers for the civil suit. But when the deputies asked of Chapin's whereabouts, Sandy said Lena, 20, moved to Florida with a boyfriend earlier that year. 2 months later, on September 15, 2006, Sandy claimed that a masked figure in camouflage assaulted her outside her home, according to a report obtained from the Dent County Sheriff's Office, which they could have, especially if people thought that she was responsible for the disappearance of 2 of her family members. It goes on to say, Sandy said she believed the attacker was the missing Gary McCullough, who she said was, quote, not missing, only hiding, end quote. The investigating deputy noted that Sandy had bruises on her face, but that no footprints were evident in the dew on the grass in the area where she claimed the assailant ran away, nor in the sand of the home's driveway. And that would depend a lot on the weather conditions and the condition of the ground at the time that the attack supposedly happened. Berry County law enforcement was contacted, but they assured Dent County law enforcement it wasn't Gary, though they realistically do not know that for a fact. The investigating deputy attached a copy of the wrongful death lawsuit summons to the report. As the McCullough daughters' civil case went through litigation in Missouri's 39th Judicial Circuit, Lena had still not been reported missing. Now remember, she was missing, I think, for a little over 3 years before she was actually reported missing by anyone. And this is a quote from a former neighbor and friend of Lena's, who was, and the family, of course, who is E.J. Schulke of the Sligo area, and he said, quote, I first heard Lena was missing when I bumped into one of her sisters in town, and she told me Lena left a month prior and never came home to get all of her things. The last time I talked with Lena was only 1 month before she disappeared, so like January 14th-ish. It was 10 years ago, so I don't remember it that well, but we talked for a couple hours, and she said she was saving up money and hoping to move to St. Louis, end quote. So in this story, I believe there are 2 or 3 different stories concerning that she was planning to leave the Steelville area that she was living in and move to various areas. And that I know of, none of those say anything about the fact that she was planning to move with her boyfriend or fiance or whichever he was. Most things say he was her fiance. Her sisters say he was her fiance. But then there are some things that say that he was just her boyfriend. So I don't know for sure which he was. Chapin's younger sister, Jean Decker, who I believe is the one that was born in 1993 after she had married Albert, but Albert is not her dad. And I don't know why her last name is Decker, but well, I guess that's her married name. But anyway, Chapin's younger sister, Jean Decker of Salem, agrees Lena had hopes of starting over. But see, she's one of the ones that tells a different story concerning that. She says, quote, before she came up missing, she planned on taking her son, Coulter, and moving to Arkansas. And this is in a statement that Jean Decker wrote to the Salem News. She goes on to say, quote, she had gotten around the wrong crowd and was using drugs. She wanted to get away and start fresh. She disappeared before she could leave. So how do you know that she disappeared, went missing, someone killed her, instead of she moved to Arkansas to get away from this crowd and didn't want the crowd knowing that she was moving there? Maybe she chose not to take her son with her, because if she took her son, then it would be obvious that she was her. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, Lena's older sister, Brandy Peterson, remembers being skeptical of the Florida story from the first time she heard it. Brandy Peterson says, quote, there's no way Lena would have left Coulter behind. Lena loved Coulter more than anything. There is scrapbook after scrapbook which proves it. She also wouldn't have given Mom the satisfaction of getting Coulter. Mom and Lena were always fighting over him. Mom would go to Country Mart in Salem and show him off and say he was hers, and Lena would be like, stop saying that, Mom, he's mine. One time, Lena and I were going to take Coulter to see his father in Arkansas, and Mom called us flipping out, saying, you bring him home. You bring him home right now, or I'm going to kill myself, end quote. And I'm like, if she had a drug problem and she was trying to get away from drugs and using them and trying to get away from the people that she had been doing the drugs with, regardless how much she loved her son, and people speculate that she wouldn't have ever left him behind, she may have actually elected to leave him behind and let her mom care for him, since their mom, according to Brandy and Robin on the Unsolved Mysteries thing, never did drugs, drank alcohol, smoked cigarettes, or anything like that when she was raising them. So perhaps she did choose to leave him with her mom so that her mom could take care of him until she did manage to get those things under control, because she possibly didn't want him being around her when she was using meth and stuff like that. But the story goes on to say, Peterson further says that Sandy and Lena were feuding over legal guardianship over Coulter, which Chapin would not concede. Throughout this time, Peterson says Sandy also insisted Coulter call her Mom, much to Lena's frustration. So I'm guessing that the reason that they were having this legal guardianship feud was because of Lena's meth addiction. And it sounds to me like her mom was trying to protect him from being around her whenever she was using meth. And it seems to me that maybe she did just give in to that. But of course, I don't know for a fact. That's speculation on my part. And so Rachel Bryce of Salem, a friend and coworker of Lena's, says she's Rachel Bryce of Salem, a friend of, okay, sorry guys, blah, 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 blah. Sorry. This is a very serious case, and I contemplated laying down to take a nap, but I had said I was going to do this live at 11 o'clock today. And so, for the few people that did watch it, I wanted to go ahead and do that. Also, if I'd laid down to take a nap, I probably wouldn't have woke up until after I was supposed to start watching my grandson today. So, to continue with the story. Rachel Bryce of Salem, a friend and coworker of Lena's, says she also didn't believe the Florida story. She says, quote, Lena told me her mom would get colder, and this is a quote from Lena, over her dead body, end quote from Lena. Those were the words she used. Her mom knew I didn't buy the story about Lena running off. She was afraid of me because she knew I knew about all of the crazy stuff going on in their house, which I don't think she says much about what was actually going on. Lena and I were good friends, and she would have me over, and I'd see all the manipulation and abuse Sandy would do. Sandy came into Country Mart after Lena disappeared once while I was there, and I went up to ask her where Lena was, and she ran out the door the moment she saw me, end quote. So she didn't want to confront her or be confronted by her and have to explain where Lena actually was. After almost 3 years, Lena is reported missing. Lena Chapin's whereabouts stayed in limbo for almost 3 years until her biological father, Robert Chapin, in Arkansas, alerted Epperly to her disappearance. Epperly personally worked with Chapin's father to file a report in Berry County in November of 2008. And most of the things that I have seen say that Epperly actually went to Robert Chapin's home in Arkansas trying to get information about where Lena was so that he could try to find out why she didn't show up for the civil suit, because they most likely filed charges against her for not showing up, which that would not have been out of Berry County. But yeah, most of the stuff says that he went there trying to find out if he knew where she was, because she hadn't shown up for that hearing, and her father told her that he had been told by her sisters that she was missing. And from what I understand, he was surprised that the family had not reported her missing, like her sisters or her mom and such. And as I said, she went missing February the 14th, Valentine's Day of 2006, and was officially reported missing by her dad, Robert Chapin, in November of 2008, so almost 3 years, 2 years and 9 months after. After hearing about yet another disappearance in the family, Albert says he became so frustrated that he and some friends made the 3-hour drive to Salem to put up missing person signs for Chapin. And this is a quote from Albert. He says, I don't think they were up but for a couple days. Sandy was going around taking them down just as fast as we could put them up, end quote. When asked by the Salem News about a missing persons report on Lena, the Dent County Sheriff's Office, in a written statement, wrote they didn't open a case on Chapin's disappearance until March of 2012. So that is 6 years and 1 month after she went missing. The Dent County Sheriff's Office, which is where she's actually living and where she actually disappeared from, then filed a missing persons report concerning her. Detective Rick Letchworth of the Sheriff's Office, who's the detective in charge of her case, said, quote, we were not informed of her disappearance at the time. It's strange that no one from her family reached out to alert us she was missing, end quote. And as I said, I find that was really, really odd. I don't care what my mom was telling me about one of my sisters and saying, sure enough, and did this, sure enough, and did that. I would contact the sheriff's office so they could look into what actually, like where she actually was, if I didn't see or hear from her for an extended period of time. Letchworth says that Sandy and Chris have continuously refused to cooperate with any investigation to find Lena. Neither party, in fact, has been willing to speak to Letchworth, the lead detective in charge of finding Lena. And this is another quote from Letchworth. He says, quote, "We are investigating this as a missing person case, but with suspicious circumstances," end quote. Peterson, which this references Brandy Peterson, Lena's sister and Sandy's daughter, says one reason for the delayed reporting by the family was due to rumors Sandy was spreading about Lena. And as I say, now it's my understanding that Brandy did not live in, she not only did not live in the area where they lived at the time that Lena went missing, but she did not live in Missouri, is my understanding. Which you don't have to live where the person lives to report someone missing, but someone spreading rumors about my sister, that she's not actually missing, but this is what's going on, would not keep me from calling police and being like, I think something may have happened, especially if I suspected my mom killing my stepdad. I'm just saying. So Brandon said, quote, "Mom starting saying that Lena was a prostitute and she ran off to sell herself for drugs," end quote. Which is sad that she would say that, but she was a meth addict, so who honestly knows what the truth is. Hopefully one day everyone will know. Bryce agrees Sandy was the reason Lena's disappearance stayed a secret. And now I believe Bryce was one of her co-workers. I hate when it doesn't say the whole names. Yes, Bryce is the one who said, Rachel Bryce, who worked with Lena, and said that she also did not believe the story when she heard it about Lena going to Florida. Yeah, she said that she agrees that Sandy was the reason that Lena's disappearance stayed a secret. And I'm like, well, I mean, she was your friend and co-worker. Why didn't you call the police and report her missing? You said you didn't believe the story she was saying, so call and report her missing, And Rachel Bryce goes on to say, quote, "It's so unfair that Sandy can just say Lena was into drugs as if that's the reason why she disappeared," which it very well could be the reason why she disappeared. I'm just saying. Lena only started using drugs because of her mom. Lena was partying too hard because she was traumatized from what her mom made her do to clean up the murder. I know because Lena told me. She confessed her mom killed her stepdad and made her clean it up. It was no secret, and it really ate at Lena. Should bring it up when we'd be drinking together. She would always open up when she was abusing herself most. I have no doubt that Lena's troubles are all to blame on her mom manipulating her into covering up that murder. And I mean, at any time she could have said anything to anyone that she wanted to. Realistically, she could have left the home. The many times that she left the home, she could have called the Berry County Sheriff's Office and told them what she knew, but she chose not to. So, and I understand, it's her mom. She's battling with, do I want to turn mom in for what she did and see if it helps me to feel better about myself, even though I might get arrested also. She's still my mom. Do I want to do that? She had that battle going on. Bryce further says outright fear of Sandy has been an ongoing factor in the case, not just with Lena, but with other people, she's saying. She says, quote, "Everyone is scared of Sandy. That's why they don't want to say anything. There are people right now who know the truth, but they are staying quiet because they are scared," end quote. And I'm not sure that Sandy is the one that they're scared of. It could possibly be Chris that they're scared of. Still, to me, it seems more likely that he would be the one who would have done the shooting or whatever happened if Sandy is freaking out and being like, I can't believe this happened, I can't believe this happened, I can't believe this happened, If she intentionally killed him, I feel like she would just be like, I did this, when talking to her daughter, whom she trusted about it. I'm so sorry, drinking soda just gave me the burps. Letchworth's leads. Now remember, he's the lead detective in Lena's case. In Steelville, Missouri, which is in Denton County. One of the only leads in the case of Lena's disappearance came when Detective Letchworth interviewed her former boyfriend, Jason Bryant, in 2012. And it's my understanding once more that he was her fiance, not just her boyfriend. Letchworth says Bryant and Chapin were living together in an apartment outside Steelville immediately before her disappearance. They planned to be married. The last time Bryant says he saw Lena was February 14, 2006, Valentine's Day. And I stated before, like, they live outside of Steelville, but I had asked on Facebook of her sisters whether she had a car or not, because I was curious. I had not seen or heard anything about whether or not her vehicle was at their apartment whenever he came home and Sandy was there getting her stuff. And then I'm like, if her vehicle's not there, then odds are she did leave and go somewhere, But her sister Robin said that she had a Chevy Cavalier. No, not Cavalier. That's what my car is. She had a Chevy Caprice. I'm pretty sure is what she said it was. A 2000 Chevy Caprice, which Sandy was supposed to have paid off, was what she told Lena. And about a month before Lena went missing, the car was repossessed by somebody from, I want to say Sligo or Salem. Salem, I believe it was. So this is going on about Valentine's Day morning. The conversation with Letchworth and Bryant. So it says that morning, Bryant told Letchworth he woke up early, gave Lena a kiss on the cheek, and left, saying he'd be back that evening. And why did he say evening? It's what I was reading earlier said that he left to go to work from 6 a.m. to 3 p.m. And if he only went till 3 p.m., that's not late in the evening. Of course, I don't know how far he had to drive to get to work, but still, shouldn't be late that evening. Which this just says back that evening, but 3 is not even in the evening, is my point. When Bryant returned from work later that day, he instead found Sandy and 2 other people clearing all of Chapin's belongings from their apartment. Sandy then told Bryant that Lena ran off with another man to Florida and then left with all of her daughter's belongings. Bryant says he never saw Lena again. And why would you not call the cops and be like, well, I guess he didn't know maybe about the Gary stuff, though, if him and Lena were planning to get married. I would think that she would have told him about that stuff. Let's see. Something I was going to say. Also, like, who were the 2 people that were there with her mom? They're her sisters, because he didn't say they were her sisters. And I feel like if it had been her sisters, then he would have said it was her sisters. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like there were people that he didn't necessarily know. And if Sandy did do something to Lena, maybe those people were involved in what happened to her, or maybe they know what happened to her, So Detective Letchworth said, quote, I believe Bryant's story. He doesn't have any reason to lie, but he would if he actually made her disappear anyway. If he was guilty of something, I don't think he'd come down here to talk to me, end quote. But guilty people not only go to talk to police, very often they also insert themselves into investigations and try to make it look like they're helping the investigators when in fact they were the person who killed someone, So it doesn't necessarily mean anything that he was willing to go down there and talk to the detective. Messages left for Bryant by the Salem News were not returned. I'm sure he's like, I've moved on with my life or whatever, The Salem News contacted the owner of the apartment building in which Bryant and Chapin were residing at the time of her disappearance. The apartment owner, who requested their name not be used, confirms the two were tenants for several months prior to Lena's disappearance. The apartment owner also confirms Sandy removed Lena's possessions from the unit Valentine's Day 2006, saying her daughter moved to Florida with a boyfriend. And I wonder if um, she was there whenever Sandy was removing the stuff from the apartment, or if she said that because that's what Jason Bryant told her happened. Um, and the apartment owner also told the Salem News, quote, "When it was happening, I had no reason to not believe her," Sandy, so I guess that she was there when she came. "She said her daughter moved to Florida. I thought she was telling the truth," end quote. The unit's owner offered more information about the apartment scene. Quote, "I was cleaning the unit with a friend of mine after they left when we found a stain. I said to them, 'What did they do? Kill a dog in here?' End quote. And I don't know why you would say that. And I also know for a fact that there are a lot of stains that might look like it's blood that would not actually be blood, such as wine, crap, all sorts of stuff, because dried blood is kind of brownish looking. The apartment owner says the unit's carpets had to be replaced due to a large, dark colored stain that could not be shampooed out. See, it could still be wine or hair dye, or it could be a lot of stuff. One of the apartment windows was also broken, which she takes to mean that there was possibly a fight, though a lot of things could have caused the window to get broken. Or the fight could have been a lot with a lot of different people, or not a lot of different people, but you know what I mean. Could have been one of her sisters, could have been one of her coworkers, could have been a neighbor, could have been her boyfriend, could have been her mom, could have been her stepdad, who knows. A report from the Crawford County Sheriff's Office obtained by the Salem News confirms the owner reported the broken window as property damage on March 18, 2006, which is a month and 4 days after Lena went missing. So apparently her boyfriend moved out pretty quick after she went missing. The report indicates that Bryant had vacated the apartment several weeks prior, which would be around the time of Lena's disappearance. So she disappeared and he vacated the apartment. The majority of people that I know, if they think that someone has dumped them and moved out on them, like throw out all their stuff that's left in their apartment, but like they don't just go ahead and move from the place, because that's their home. The apartment owner says they did not contact law enforcement at the time because Chapin had not been reported missing and foul play was not suspected, though she apparently asked if they killed a dog in there, so it sounds like maybe it sort of kind of was. The owner says the carpet was thrown away and a later fire in the building from a renter smoking in bed subsequently destroyed the apartment unit Chapin stayed in. I read on one thing that there were actually 3 units that were completely or almost completely destroyed because of that fire, and the person that fell asleep smoking was actually in the unit that she disappeared from. The apartment owner also said, upon hearing from investigators years later that Lena was missing, quote, "It came as a shock. It was like my whole brain exploded. If I would have known, I would have kept all that evidence. But after so many years go by and after the building burns, there just isn't anything left," end quote. Dink County law enforcement told the Salem News the apartment owner was interviewed after Chapin was reported missing, and at that time, no mention was made in the report of any suspicious stains on the carpet. So maybe the apartment owner actually did something to her or made her disappear or something, and called her mom and told her that she told her she was moving to Florida with a man. Who knows? Chris and Sandy began moving to a new home in Dink County 1 month after Bryant claims Lena disappeared, according to documents obtained from the Dink County Recorder's Office. So it seems like he moved right after they waited a month and moved, so they waited longer than you, dude. Anyway, the same week Bryant says Lena went missing, Chris and Sandy bought from Chris's parents the Sligo home and land parcel on which they had been living. 1 month later, March 15, 2006, so a month and a day technically, the couple then purchased and subsequently moved to an 80-acre ranch in Dent County on Dent County Road. On Dent County Road 3260. 4 months later, June 9, they sold their Sligo home. So the Sligo home is the one that they bought from Chris's parents, which they did the same week that Lena went missing, and this is according to Bryant, who was Lena's fiance. And then they bought, 1 month later, they bought and moved to an 80-acre ranch in on Dent County Road 3260. And 4 months after that, they sold the Sligo home, which I don't know really what any of that has to do with, so to speak, the price of rice in China. And so Detective Letchworth says, it's unlikely that someone who had as much interaction with law enforcement as her, Chapin, moved someplace and suddenly never got in trouble. To think that a young life can just vanish and nobody cares enough to report it for years is even sadder than a mother can just allow it to happen, end quote. And so my thought on that, him saying that she was in trouble with the law, like I said, she didn't get in trouble with stuff that had to do with drug use or alcohol use with her actual, connected to her actual partying and such. She got in trouble mostly for stuff that had to do with, like she got a speeding ticket once. She got in trouble for not getting her vehicle tagged twice, possibly 3 times. I believe it was twice. And so it's like her goal, what she was planning to do. Someone said she wanted to move to St. Louis. Someone else said she wanted to move to Arkansas. She was trying to get away from the crowd that she was hanging with who were using meth so that she could improve her life. So it is easy for me to believe that she would not get in trouble again. I have a son who was in trouble with the law for years and years and years and years and years, and he finally was able to straighten his life up and has not been in trouble with them since. And it's been, I want to say it's been 6-7 years now, and they're not like, I guess he disappeared because he's not been arrested lately. But anyway, the search for Chapin has proved fruitless. According to the Dent County Sheriff's Office, no one has claimed to have seen Lena since she was reported missing. And I'm speculating, when I'm thinking about it, perhaps she dyed her hair dark brown, maybe red. Hair dye would be really hard to get out of a carpet, so maybe she dyed her hair and did move someplace else and get a different identity. She has not had any law enforcement contacts, and her social security number has likewise not been active. And as I stated before, I think in the thing where I was just talking about her case and kind of giving an introduction to it, that was what made me think about the fake ID stuff, and the person that I knew that made driver's licenses, social security cards, birth certificates, green cards, all of that sort of stuff that was good enough that not only would employers accept it, but like medical places and immigration would go to people's workplaces and look at it and be like, yeah, okay, that's legit, So I know for a fact that it is possible for people to change their identity like that. Nikki Guffey, which was her friend and co-worker, said, quote, I didn't know Lena was missing until I saw her face on a missing person flyer. It's heartbreaking. Lena never even got a funeral. There was no memorial or anything to prove she was here. It's like she never existed, end quote. And I'm guessing that that's because it was being said that she was still alive and was just someplace else, if you know what I mean. And okay, I started saying, I feel like there's a whole bunch more of this left, but there's actually only 2 more sections left. And part of this probably is not even really about Lena. This is going to be about an hour and 17 minutes long. And oops, wait, let me see. Did somebody make a comment? Oh, hey, Funko Mask. Sorry, I don't know if you're even still watching or not. I'm reading the article, so I can't see what people are saying and such, but I am trying to check in from time to time. So the verdict goes against the Klemps in the civil trial. On July 25, 2013, a Stone County jury voted unanimously at the conclusion of a 4-day trial in Galena that Sandy and Chris Klemp knowingly took Gary McCullough's life. The case was moved from Berry County after the judge granted a change of venue request. The McCullough daughters were awarded a total of $7 million. Sandy and Chris were ordered to pay $1 million collectively for taking Gary's life and $3 million each in punitive damages for the outrageous nature of the crime. And I guess that's why some of the things say 8 million, but the 1 million was together, and then 3 million each, which would be 7 instead of 8. Despite the lack of Chapin's testimony and not hearing her taped confession played in court, it took the jury less than an hour to determine there was enough evidence to find for the plaintiffs. More than 20 witnesses testified. Among them was Lena's sister, Brandy Peterson, who decided to come forward with Lena's confession to her, which is hearsay. So, I mean, this is not, it's a civil case, so I guess it's allowed there. Hearsay in most cases is not allowed. But anyway, Peterson also testified about what Chris and Sandy had done to silence her afterwards. I'm curious as to which version of the story she told them, though. Peterson told the Salem News, quote, quote, the way I look at it, my sister didn't choose to do what she did to help my mom. She didn't choose to hold a secret for so long and then disappear. It's not fair. My mom gets to live her life smiling. Testifying was the right thing to do. It was my only option, end quote. Checking back more often now that I saw that I had some comments and such. Anyway, that were not like spammy things. Another of Lena's sisters, Robin Chapin, testified as well. She told the jury she witnessed Chris driving from an area adjacent to the burn pile the day Gary disappeared. She also said she saw Sandy and Chris the next day dragging something long and heavy, which wasn't furniture, out of the farmhouse, which is interesting because she says that she believes that that was Gary's body, and it looked like perhaps it had, like maybe his boots were sticking out from the heavy thing that they were dragging, which she believed to be plastic or perhaps a carpet or something. But according to Lena, he was burnt the night that he went missing. Though she does also actually say, now that I think about it, that she was made to help on May the 12th and the 13th, and doesn't say that she was made to help on the 11th. So maybe that does make sense in connection to that. So both sisters testified they saw Gary's truck parked on the family's ranch the evening of May 11, 1999, after Sandy had already said he had left town for Diamond. And it was said he left at 6:30, so I'm guessing that they say that it was actually there after 6:30. In his closing statement, plaintiff attorney Richard Lee Anderson, who again was a friend of Gary's, addressed the lack of physical evidence in the case of Gary's disappearance by pointing out no normal forensics were recovered from the McCullough home. And it's interesting that he is the one that brought that up, but anyway, he said, quote, Gary McCullough lived in, oh, yes, exactly, okay. No normal forensics like hairs or dander or whatever was found either. So he said, quote, Gary McCullough lived in that house for 3 years and not one hair and none of his DNA was found in there. You've got to be kidding me, end quote. Reporters covering the trial noted neither Chris nor Sandy were in attendance during any day of the court proceedings, and I'm pretty sure that they lived fairly far away from the county that this trial was held in at the time. And they may have been working, though they were served summonses to appear, from what I understand. You'd think they could have arrested them for not showing up then. But anyway, despite the civil victory, Anderson believes there is unfinished business. Um, he told the Salem News, quote, I think it helps for it to be publicly known these people did this. A jury of 12 citizens didn't need a body to know the truth that Gary McCullough was murdered. I think it was positive we obtained that unanimous verdict, but I know the family will not have any real justice until there are criminal charges filed in this case, end quote. And I don't know for a fact. I mean, he could be alive out there somewhere, as could Lena. And it would be awesome if they were both still alive, though most likely neither of them are. But it would be really cool if they both were. I'm trying to check and see how long this is. I try not to make these too long, but then I get chatty, and this article was way longer than I thought it was because now I'm going on almost 1 hour for this one, and the other one was an hour and 17-ish minutes long. But anyway, this is the last section. I believe it's called Waiting for the Truth, Hoping for Justice. The Salem News contacted the office of Berry County Prosecutor Amy Box, who was the prosecutor in 2016, to inquire if she plans to file criminal charges against Chris and Sandy Klemp in relation to the Gary McCullough case. A staff member took a message from the Salem News requesting an interview with Box, but there has been no response. Sheriff Epperly says he has not given up on the case against Sandy and Chris. He says he is currently working with Highway Patrol investigators to explore what options are available for prosecution and is hopeful he will have something to present to the State Attorney General's office soon. Epperly said, quote, I've been sheriff here for going on 20 years, and we've solved many murder cases since I've been here. But this is a case that keeps me up at night. I go to bed still thinking about it. I did then and still do. I can only imagine how the family feels, end quote. After his interview with the Salem News, however, Epperly announced on February 9th of 2016, it would have been, I'm pretty sure, he would not be seeking re-election this year. Albert McCullough says he thinks his family has waited long enough. And I find it, all those idiots again. Anyway, I find it hard to believe myself that the FBI is not working on this case in some respect. I'm pretty sure they probably are. So I deleted that comment. Funko Masks comments are still on there because they are not spam and bad. So Albert McCullough goes on to say, I want something done about this, and I want it done soon. My mom is 79 years old, and she doesn't have much longer. She doesn't have much longer. She can wait to get justice. This whole deal has broken my family. My dad died because of this. He had a heart attack and died after Gary went missing. My cousin Robert McCullough died too, after he started popping pills after all this happened and got in a bad wreck. He and Gary were very close, end quote. And I believe, I thought that Robert McCullough was one of the ones that talked on the Unsolved Mysteries feature, but he may not have been. But I was thinking that he was on there. Denton County officials say they're also not giving up on solving the mystery of what happened to Lena. Denton County prosecuting attorney Andrew Curley said, quote, "This case has been on my radar since 2014, which I'm guessing is when this person took office. To date, law enforcement has not developed probable cause to believe her death was the result of a homicide in Denton County. We will continue to investigate this matter and urge people with any information to come forward. We want to resolve this case and find out the truth. No family deserves to suffer in this manner. We need your help." So he talks like they have proof that she is dead, but that they don't believe that it's the result of a homicide in Dent County, which makes me think that maybe they think that she OD'd or possibly committed suicide. Um, it's hard to know what they're thinking because I know they don't want to give too much information out, you know. Okay. Anyway, sorry. Um, Sandy and Chris were granted a divorce on November 5th, 2014. Chris still owns the 80-acre ranch on Dent County Road 3260, but is trying to sell the property. Now, this was in 2016. He still owned it. From what I understand, when the Unsolved Mysteries thing aired July 3rd of 2020, he had sold the property. Sandy has remarried and lives in Mount Vernon with a new husband, less than an hour driving distance from where Gary disappeared. She is also raising Chapin's son, Coulter, as her own, which now Coulter lives with one of Lena's sisters who has custody of him. Lena's sister, Brandy Peterson, says she takes no pride in remembering the experiences of her life. She also says, quote, "I can't believe I lived it. My hope for the future is to have closure and that mom goes to prison. The last time I spoke with her was about 7 years ago. She called me and said my boyfriend and I should come to Christmas so everyone could be together. I told her I would go when Lena came home too, and then I said to never call me again and hung up," end quote. In spite of the efforts of multiple law enforcement agencies, journalists, and attorneys over the past decade, remember this was written in 2016, the case of Lena Chapin's disappearance continues to be as muddled and mysterious as that of Gary McCullough's. However, memories of Lena linger on in Dent County and beyond, and like the Sligo ruins where she once dreamed, her life too stands bold and defiant in the face of those wanting to forget that she was once a part of this corner of the Ozarks. That's a beautiful sentiment. That's a memorial to her in itself, in my opinion. Albert McCullough says, quote, "Someone knows what happened to Gary, and someone else must know what happened to Lena," or the same person, perhaps. That's my thought, not his. "I have been a farmer my whole life. I've had to burn a calf on a brush pile before. A calf, notice he says, not a cow. And I know the big bones don't burn up into ash," which is what I was talking about a while ago on my grandpa's farm. Even if you put tires out there, the whole thing does not burn. Gary's bones are out there somewhere. Someone knows where those bones are. Lena said they weren't there when her mom and her picked through the ashes. That means someone moved them before they got there. And that's probably the same person who stoked that fire all night while Lena was sleeping," end quote, which was probably Chris Klemp. Um, also, they may have put his bones in a lake because they're, well, I'm trying to think. Cassville. I don't know that it is close to Table Rock Lake. It's close to Roaring River and to Fish Hatchery. Maybe they dumped them there, but I would think somebody would have found them there. Gene Decker's letter to the Salem News concludes, and I don't know why they put this way down here, but anyway, Gene Decker's letter to the Salem News concludes, quote, I understand that there is a lot of darkness to this very complicated story. Trust me, I've lived this story for 17 years now, and I don't know. That part confuses me. 1999 to 2016. Okay. Yes, makes sense. Anyway, she says, I've lived this story for 17 years now. Lena would have wanted people to come together with love, the strongest force there is, and try and find her. Until we find her, she will be in my dreams, showing me different places she could be and where I need to look. She wants to be found, end quote, which makes you wonder why her sisters. I mean, Lena was 20 when she went missing, so Brandy would have been 21. Um, I'm not sure. I don't know for sure how old Jean would have been. Excuse me, but it makes you wonder why the sisters themselves were not out there looking for her. Detective Rick Letchworth of the Dent County Sheriff's Office asked anyone with pertinent information concerning Lena Chapin's disappearance to contact the office at 573-729-3241. And I should put these phone numbers in my description. I will have to do that later. The McCullough family is offering a reward for information that leads to an arrest for the murder of Gary McCullough. I want to say that's a $10,000 reward, but I could be wrong. Information can be given to the Berry County Sheriff's Office at 417-847-6556. And that is the conclusion of that article. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you for subscribing and viewing and liking my videos and sharing them on your social media. And I am going to go before this video gets as long as the other one was. So everyone have a great, whatever time of night or day it is in your part of the world. Stay positive and stay safe.